All eyes are on a newly formed tropical depression in the Caribbean. This thing could explode over the next couple of days and head towards the Gulf of Mexico. We're breaking down the official forecast from the Hurricane Center and taking a look at some models. Hurricane Fiona is also still a major hurricane, still impacting Bermuda. Stick around for a couple of minutes and I'm going to show you what happens when a cold front and a major hurricane collide. It could be disastrous for parts of Canada. First, I wanted to thank all of the new subscribers. Thank you for all your reports and for your comments. We track weather together on this channel. Please post where you are watching from. If you are finding us for the first time, we would love to have you as part of this weather community. Please smash that subscribe button, hit the alert bell, and share this channel with your friends. So unfortunately, the disturbance that we've been tracking that has looked very poorly organized and was expected to has really blown up overnight and organized enough to officially be classified as a tropical depression. This is expected to strengthen into a tropical storm over the next couple of days and eventually a hurricane as it gets close to Jamaica, Cuba, and eventually the Gulf of Mexico. Here is the forecast cone from the National Hurricane Center, and you see it getting close to Jamaica over the next couple of days. So again, if you're living and watching from Jamaica, you want to start having your preparations in line for at least a strong tropical storm moving through over the next couple of days. You see, this is the forecast point of September 25th at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, right around Jamaica. Now, Jamaica is also the point that we are really going to hone in on to see how modeling is handling this system. I'm going to show you what I'm talking about when we go over some of the models in just a little bit, but once we get into Sunday, that is really going to be the point that we are going to know pretty well anyway of where this is going post Cuba and if and how this is going to affect parts of the lower 48 of the United States. Further up the line, again, heads up in the Cayman Islands, this is expected to impact us as a Category 1 hurricane at least. You see it there, the forecast anyway. A 75 mile per hour storm as we move into the early morning hours. That's 2 o'clock in the morning on September 26th. Again, Cuba, this is going to continue to strengthen into us, so especially in central and western Cuba, get your preparations ready. A Category 2 hurricane expected. There is certainly still room for this to become stronger. This is going to be moving over very warm, very deep warm water, and this could have the potential to explode again as it works its way towards western Cuba. This is going to have to cross over the Florida Straits as well, the extremely warm waters of the Gulf Stream. And again, at this current time anyway, still forecast to be a Category 2 hurricane as this projects in to impact the state of Florida as a Category 2 hurricane at least. Again, there is room for this to be stronger, and there is still some uncertainty, really a lot of uncertainty as to what part of Florida this impacts. Could it be the Panhandle? That is certainly still in play. The west coast of Florida is still in play, or this may turn aggressively, impacting the Keys and then extreme southern Florida. So again, there is still a lot of wiggle room when it comes to this system. Those details are going to become a little more clear, though, over the next 24 to 48 hours. Really, by Saturday into Sunday, we're going to have a lot better idea of where this turn is going to take place, first around Jamaica and then around Florida. Models certainly coming into better agreement here. Still, the one main difference is what part of this system becomes dominant in terms of forming its center and its well-defined center. A lot of models are honing on that happens closer towards Jamaica. If that's the case, this is going to impact the Cayman Islands, more central parts of Cuba, and then southern to central Florida. If that consolidation of this area of low pressure with Tropical Depression 9 happens a little further south, as some of these models in the green, the red one, indicate, this could swing further wide, impacting extreme western Cuba, and then a little further north into parts of central Florida. Either way, in terms of the United States, it looks like this system, which likely is to become a hurricane, has its sights set on Florida. There's still some uncertainty, though, as to what part of the state is going to be most impacted. So watching this extremely closely for Florida. Here are the GFS ensembles. Again, different initial conditions pumped in, and as Hurricane Hunter data becomes better, we're going to start to see more of those missions into Tropical Depression 9. The one thing I will say is, though, yesterday, the GFS ensemble mean was way out here over the Gulf of Mexico. it has now shifted way to the east, more in line with the European. So that starts to give you more confidence that, again, this is looking more and more likely that Florida is extremely in play here for whatever becomes of Tropical Depression 9. And there are the European ensembles. Again, it wants to consolidate Tropical Depression 9's center a little further north. That is going to mean that, at least at this point, the tendency is going to be for this track to continue to go to the east a little bit, maybe impacting west central Cuba. And then it's that question of where and when, who will see the highest impacts in Florida. Is it going to be more central Florida, closer to Tampa? Is it going to be more towards Fort Myers, and then eventually crossing the extreme southern tip of Florida? Or is it going to ride further up, closer towards, say, Cape Canaveral, Daytona Beach, or Jacksonville? So there are still a lot of details to iron out here, but on the broad scale, things are becoming maybe a little bit more clear. And as mentioned, as we get towards Saturday, get towards Sunday, that's when we are going to have a much, much better idea of the future path of this storm that's moving through the Caribbean. Meanwhile, Hurricane Fiona is still a major hurricane. This is impacting Bermuda still. You see the darker black and white there. That is where we're having those really intense thunderstorms still around the eye wall, still battering the island as this slowly pulls away. Eventually, as this interacts with another upper level system, it's going to start racing closer towards us in Canada. We can already see the influence that that upper level system is having on Fiona. You see the clouds in the green here. This is the moisture on the water vapor channel just being streamed up and pulled up to the north. That brown or blue color there that's just starting to pop up on your screen, that is the drier air associated with this dip in the jet stream that's impacting Fiona on the western side. Eventually, this upper level trough, as we call it, is going to grab Fiona, pick it up, and throw it right on into Nova Scotia and parts of Newfoundland. Kind of a really wide view here, but it kind of shows how these two systems are going to merge. This is the 500 millibar upper level vorticity and height map here, and you see this dip in the jet stream. That was that drier air I just showed you there. Here, of course, this big ball of blue, that's a giant level of spin. That is Hurricane Fiona. And watch what happens over the next several hours and a couple of days, that they kind of do a little dance as that trough picks up Fiona and really energizes the storm and lifts it right on into parts of Nova Scotia and Newfoundland. Look at the wind field of this storm as these two systems combine. I'm going to put this into motion here, and you just see the reds and purples and the yellows. That's that strong wind, hurricane force winds coming into Nova Scotia. This is going to be early on Saturday morning, the 24th of September, and you see the pressure dropping into the 920s or low 930s. Here is Nova Scotia for reference. Again, the yellow 66 knot winds. We're pushing 70 miles an hour or beyond that. And just look at how widespread that wind is going to be. This could be one of the most destructive storms in recent memory in terms of the wind, the storm surge along the coast. So again, if you are watching and living in Nova Scotia, parts of Newfoundland, make sure you are taking this one seriously. There are still two other areas that have a chance for development as well in the tropics. The one highlighted in red here, right around the Cabo Verde Islands. This is the one that is going to be competing against Tropical Depression 9 to be the next named storm of the season. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Again, we are watching this closely for Jamaica, the Cayman Islands, Cuba, and especially the eastern side of the Gulf Coast of the United States. That's really going to be Alabama, getting into Mississippi as well, parts of Florida, and then the southeast coast of the United States. There is still a ton of uncertainty. There's no reason to freak out. There's a high likelihood, though, of a strong hurricane entering the Gulf of Mexico as we get into the early stages of next week. It is a good idea to start to get your plans in order. Hopefully, you're not going to have to use your action plan, but it's always good to make sure that you are prepared and then not have to use those preparations. Thank you again, guys, for tuning in. Please hit that subscribe button. Please post where you are watching from in the comments. We're going to watch this closely. We're going to track the weather together. We'll catch you next time.